Tejangsvidyavadhyanaam Punaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mahavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Tvameva Matarcha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyastravina Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. I have to apologize for my throat because I had it affected my, when I had the flu last week, I think it affected my throat. It's taking very long for it to get better, but I'll do the best. Okay, so we were Gita Dhyanam ka verse 6. Everybody has it? Many people? Namaste. Namaste. So let's chant, lead follow. Bhishma Drona Tata Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Jayadratha Jala Gandharani Lotpala Gandharani Lotpala Shalya Grahavati Krupena Vahani Shalya Grahavati Krupena Vahani Karnena Velakula Karnena Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairanati Sotirna Khalu Pandavairanati Kaivartaka Keshava Kaivartaka Keshava. Okay, so we are on this verse. Before that, we started. First, we bow down to Bhagavad Gita, then to Vyasji, and then Krishna Bhagwan. There were so many verses of his glory. And now, this is more like a pictorial graph, I call it, of the Mahabharata. In the sense that, in the olden days when they had to bring this big concept of something into your mind, how we can grasp, it's such a huge concept. So then they used to use these similes and like in Bhagavad Gita itself, in chapter 15, the whole universe is described as an upside down tree. It's like a pictorial graph also. So they were very advanced in the graphing, if you ask me. Because after you will see that how he has done the picture of the whole Mahabharata war. So the significance over here is that every day, or in our life, not every day big challenges, but every day we face challenges, and then there are some big, huge challenges come in our life. And we feel so like under the weight of it, we feel crushed, and we feel we won't be able to handle it, and this and that. And Bhagavad Gita says, no matter how big challenge you have, if you go in the right direction with the right attitude and learn the higher knowledge, you can handle anything. And so that gives us some kind of boost that yes, by studying this I can also do that. So from keeping that in mind, the war itself was so like big, and there were so many difficult aspects of it. It almost looked like a impossible thing to cross over, because so many people with so many क्या बोलते हैं वरदान मिला हुआ है, ये है कोई किसी को इच्छा मित्रु का, किसी को कुछ like how am I going to win this war, and then facing challenges like he has to kill his own family members, in line of duty. So his challenges were so terrible that उसके सामने हमारे तो कुछ कमी है. So just keep that. So they're going to bring this pictorial graph in this. That's what it is. So I'm going to do Sanskrit and then something. Bhishma, Drona, Tata, with Bhishma and Drona as its banks. Jayadratha, Jala, with Jayadratha as its water. Gandhara, Neel, Utpala, with the king of Gandhar as the blue water lily. And there's another meaning, means a dark blue rock. There are two meanings. And you will see, and they will talk about in Sanskrit language, one word can have several meanings. Sometimes both are applicable. Shalya Grahavati, with Shalya as the shark.
Wow.
Krupena Vahani, with Kripa as a current. They're describing like a big river, torrential river. Karnena Vel Akula, with Karna as a breaker, means a big huge wave like a tsunami. Ashwathama Vikarna Ghor Makara, with Ashwathama and Vikarna as the terrible crocodiles. I mean, imagination is just tremendous. Avartini, with Duryodhana as the whirlpool in it. So Avartini is like a whirlpool, it sucks you down, in the water. Uttirna, crossover. Khalu, indeed. Pandavahi, by the Pandavas. Rananadi, the river battle. So they're calling this battle like a huge river. Kaivartakaha, the ferryman. And who's going to be the ferryman? Krishna Bhagavan. Keshava is Krishna. So we already got the picture, right? What's going to come? Yeah. Okay. So, आपके पास है? नहीं. You have it, right?
I have it too.
You can read it.
You can read. It is usual in, the English translation, the river of battle with Bhishma and Drona as its banks, with Jayadratha as its waters, with the king of Gandhara as the blue water lily, Shalya as the shark, Kripa as the current, Karna as the breaker, Aswathama and Vikarna as the terrible crocodiles, Duryodhan as the whirlpool in it, was indeed crossed over by the Pandavas with Keshava as the ferryman.
So everybody kind of got some picture that is huge, terrible river with so many problems, but once Keshava, Krishna Bhagwan became the ferryman, वो बोलते हैं ना संसार की सागर पार कर लेना, something like that. So among all the characters we already discussed, Jayadratha, was a husband of that Dushala, and he had all kind of boons, and उन्होंने शिव जी को भी प्रसन्न करके he had taken boons. So all of them were like big Maharati. Gandhar, we already know Mama. Uska Shakuni is Gandhar, Naresh. And he was like the key into this whole problem. And Shalya, इसमें थोड़ा mistake हुई है explanation में आगे, मगर Shalya was, because I looked it up just to make sure. Shalya was the mama of Nakul and Sahadev. So he was actually, so it's like you must be wondering, why is he fighting on the other side, right?
No,
because they tricked him.
They tricked him.
Yeah. So whoever knows the Mahabharat war, इन लोग ने ना इतने गलत मेथड यूज किए थे to get people over onto their side. So उसको ट्रिक करके, so फिर वो मजबूरी में गया था.
हाँ, उसको इतनी हॉस्पिटैलिटी दी उन्होंने.
Right, you know
He
the
felt
story.
कि मुझे रिटर्न करनी है तो I now have to fight
Yes,
for
that's why.
Duryodhan. Yeah.
But he was also a great warrior.
हाँ.
And Kripa we already know, उनका brother-in-law of Dronacharya. Ashwathama, his son. Vikarna, we talked about his brother, Duryodhan's brother. So these are the people.
It is usual in Sanskrit to indulge in very elaborate metaphor, and here is a typical example wherein the entire Mahabharata war has been brought into the mental vision of the meditator through this elaborate picture of a river in flood. For an average man, at every moment of his life, there is one challenge or the other to be faced and crossed over. The greatest challenge of the Pandavas was the Mahabharat war and Arjuna. And Arjuna, who in the beginning felt it too much for his capacities to face, was helped by Gitacharya Lord Krishna to meet this challenge gloriously and successfully. The ferocity of the threatening river of war is brought out very clearly by the suggestiveness of the picture, which enumerates the mighty personalities and clearly brings out their individual heroism in the true classical style. The two banks of the river of war are represented by Bhishma, the grandsire, and Drona, the great teacher. The two banks are the limitations of a river, for they alone decide its direction and flow. When bound by rocky banks, rivers gush forth with terrific ferocity, while along the sandy banks they merely crawl and creep. Between Drona and Bhishma, the firm and steadfast banks, the waters of the river of war rose and fell with a velocity that at once staggering and breathtaking. The implied significance is that it was they who decided the movements of the Mahabharat war.
So see how much science has gone behind in deciding कि भाई कैसे कैसे तो, because those two were the main guys who directed which direction the war is going, and that's why when Bhishma Pitama, fell on those arrows, things started getting so bad for Kauravas. So, but they described.
A river, even though flowing through rocky cliffs, cannot have any dynamic power unless it is full of waters. The contents of the river is its flowing water. Jayadratha, the commander-in-chief of the Kaurav forces, is described here as the very waters. In a river, two banks are constantly and continuously contacted by the waters that flow through it. Also, the nature and character of the waters flowing determine the nature and character of the river itself. As a true commander-in-chief and an efficient executive, Jayadratha was thus, so to say, in all places at all moments, executing each and every intention and plan of the grandsire and the Acharya. He worked as a perfect liaison officer between Drona and Bhishma.
So now you know why he's called the water, because he was commander-in-chief and he was like,
Wow.
liaison between.
The king of Gandhara, who was the immediate kinsman of Duryodhan, served in the river of war as a dark and treacherous rock, upon which the water splashed with a thunderous roar, exhibiting their otherwise imperceptible velocity and forces. However, there is another rendering, Nilotpala, meaning a blue lotus. The king of Gandhar, was, as it were, a noble decoration, adding some beauty and fragrance to the Kaurav forces. Shalya was the shark who could swallow up the heroes even without their being aware of it, because a shark can swallow without chewing. In the list of enumerations of the great heroes, the stanza says that Kripa was the very current in the river that uprooted everything on its path and made it impossible for anyone even to hope to cross it. Karna was the mountainous waves in this oceanic river. Ashwathama and Vikarna were the terrible crocodiles, and Duryodhan was the tragic whirlpool that sucked into its center anything that happened to fall within the circumference of its play. In short,
No. I think everybody understood, whoever doesn't have the book.
This
That
is an imagination.
Oh, wow.
Real imagination,
Yeah.
which you have to,
it's
What a-
just like, what a tremendous imagination,
Yeah.
though.
yeah.
To fit each character in that kind of thing requires some skill.
Yes, that
And then
one.
once you visualize it,
Yeah.
all the characters come very live, you know.
Completely alive, like kya ek haan.
And it becomes easier if you ever were caught in a whirlpool. We were, so I realize.
Yeah.
And like each one of us will have our own stories in our own life when we get caught into whirlpools and different type of problems, So,
In short, the complete picture holds up to our vision a terrific challenge which is almost impossible for a mortal to meet. But the Pandavas did cross this formidable river, full of dangers, with Keshav as their divine ferryman. The suggestion is that Arjun, re educated in the true philosophy of Hinduism, as preached in the Gita, was able to face the river of life successfully and ultimately to cross over it and reach the banks of success and glory. A student of Gita is thus made to appreciate the practical application of Hinduism in facing one's own day to day problems. Compared to the problem so beautifully explained in this metaphor, we can say that even the worst of the challenges which we have to face now in our life is not even a fraction of what Arjun had to face then. Such a reassuring suggestion encourages every student of Gita to make a thorough study of the song of life in which the Lord delivered to Arjun the entire philosophy of life.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, this really tells us that every one of us can benefit so much, and no matter what challenges are there. So, I think that's why it is so significant.
As long as you have the right ferryman.
Yeah.
And like somewhere, one of the saints said that Krishna Bhagwan said that Gita is my heart. He called it his own heart because it's like he poured out everything.
Yeah.
The highest knowledge. And then we have discussed in this class that later on after the war, Arjun said, "Mereko Gita वापस सुनाइए." He's saying, "मैं अब वैसे नहीं सुना सकता." Then he whatever he said is called Anu Gita, small Gita. But at that time, the circumstances were just right to deliver the right kind of
And
thing.
we're so critical.
Yes. So,
And
so
I think-
it is.
I think one reason we are all here is because we want the same ferryman. We are longing for that.
Yes, we are definitely long.
We are trying that.
Yes. Okay, so there was one, not everybody has this book, and I just wanted to read something from there. आप लाए हो ये वाली? है ना? हाँ. So the reason I wanted to, because इसमें ना शुरू में what they have done is, where is it? Find out. जो बड़े बड़े saints, sages, politicians ये सब हुए ना, उन्होंने कुछ they talked about Bhagavad Gita, and I thought we can benefit.
Sure.
We read those paragraphs. It inspires us how it can help. So we'll read of Mahatma Gandhi's what he had to say. Because I don't know, all of you probably know that Gita was his main thing that he followed. Oh, you have the same book. It's Gita as others see it. And mine, it's like Roman numbers 9. It comes after this, right there. Do you find it?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
So that you don't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah. You read it. Whoever doesn't have the book can listen to it.
The Gita is the universal mother. She turns away nobody. Her door is wide open to anyone who knocks. A true votary of the Gita does not know what disappointment is. He ever dwells in perennial joy and peace that passeth all understanding. But that peace and joy come not to the skeptic or to him who is proud of his intellect or learning. It is reserved only for the humble in spirit who brings to her worship a fullness of faith and undivided singleness of mind. There never was a man who worshipped her in this spirit and went back disappointed. I find a solace in the Bhagavad Gita that I miss even in the Sermon on the Mount.
Sermon on the Mount is like Christian people have that.
The
When,
Ten Commandments.
when disappointment stares me in the face and all alone, I see not one ray of light. I see not one ray of light. I go back to the Bhagavad Gita. I find a verse here and a verse there, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming tragedies. And if they have left no visible, no indelible scare on me, I owe it all to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So that's by Mahatma Gandhi.
So you can see that somebody can say, oh, it was 5,000 years ago, or maybe it doesn't apply. This is in our own century
Yes.
that we know. So that's why I thought it was so significant that he actually referred to it
Yeah.
constantly in his life, and we know how much he achieved. It may not have been perfect everything, but a huge amount of success he achieved.
It's different.
Okay. So now we go back to chapter 1, and we finished up to 8, and we were at a place in Mahabharata where Duryodhana is getting nervous and he's talking too much and he's saying strange things, and we have still to deal with his mind one or two more. But it gives the psychology of person who is not.
Is this 9? Oh, that's it.
Everybody have it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Anye cha bhava shura,
Anye cha bhava shura,
madarte tyakta jivitaha,
madarte tyakta jivitaha,
nana shastra praharnaha,
nana shastra praharnana,
sarve yuddha visharadaha.
sarve yuddha visharadaha.
Anya, others. Cha is and, Bhavaha, many, Shuraha is heroes, Madarte, for my sake, Tyakta Jivitaha, who are determined to give up their lives. Nana Shastra Praharnaha, armed with various weapons and missiles. Sarve, all. Yuddha Visharadaha, with skill in battle. Thank you.
I was having trouble.
I know, like,
reading.
you always catch those things.
Good.
Yeah, you want to read? Yeah, please go ahead.
And many other heroes also who are determined to give up their life for my sake, armed with various weapons and missiles, all well skilled in battle. The incorrigible vanity of the dictatorial tyrant is amply clear when he arrogates to himself the stupendous honor that such a vast array of heroes had come ready to lay down their lives for my sake. To all careful students of the Mahabharata, it cannot be very difficult to estimate how many of these great veterans would have thrown in their lot with Duryodhana had it not been for the fact that Bhim, the grandsire,
Bhishma.
the Bhishma, the grandsire, was fighting in the ranks of the Kauravas.
So I think that what has happened is that you don't have a couple of paragraphs in your book. So who has you?
One may wonder.
I have, yeah.
You have, yeah. So one may wonder. Yeah. So just whoever doesn't have to just listen.
Okay, one may wonder why Duryodhana was so exhaustive and precise in his list of the great heroes on the Pandav side, while he was so negligent in repeating the names of the commandants in his own forces. Even when he counted, as he did in the last stanza, he had repeated but 4 minor names, ignoring the greater personalities in the Kaurav forces. Most probably, during the king's talk with Drona, these were the important army officers who happened to come round, and Duryodhan, in the state of his mental agitation, could only repeat the names of those who were around him at that moment. and failed to recapitulate the mightier persons in his army.
So here they're just showing that, how when you were talking about Pandava's side, he so many heroes, and his own, he picked only 4, and there were big other Maharathis, completely ignored them. So either when people are like not thinking together, they can't remember, they can't, जो भी सामने आया उनका फटाफट नाम भूल जाता
He was very nervous also.
Nervous,
He's also very-
So
exactly.
he forgot. He called the other people others.
Yes.
He named the 4 and then the others.
Others,
Yeah.
ऐसे बोल exactly. तो he's showing his mental state.
Yeah.
बोलते हैं ना जब गलत काम करे तो मन में चोर होता है. तो वही बात है.
He immediately realizes the incompleteness of his statement, and so in this stanza, he vaguely covers up his omission by declaring, "Innumerable other heroes also are here, determined to lay down their lives for my sake." The peculiar use of the word
त्यक्त जीविता.
Tyakta Jivita can be interpreted in 2 ways. A softer one by implication is determined to lay down their lives, and the other one, more direct, is those who have already discarded their lives. In this latter sense, this expression of Duryodhana serves as a perfect dramatic irony, as all of them within a short time are to die on the battlefield.
So see that I was telling you in Sanskrit language they have double meaning.
Beautiful,
So त्यक्त जीविता एक तो है कि मेरे लिए वो अपनी जिंदगी क्या बोलते हैं फिनिश करने के लिए तैयार हो गए, और दूसरा है कि मरने ही वाले हैं. त्यक्त मतलब to give up, जीवन
So
जीविता.
he knows the end, but still.
So it's like it's as though there's one irony
Yeah.
कि करने वाले हैं तो उनका होना ही होना है बेचारे, मतलब सुसाइड मिशन ही हो गया उनके लिए तो, राइट. That's what it is.
And they're doing it for me.
That's what his arrogance is. But
Right.
then this paragraph, now if you will read the last paragraph, it will make sense, because it's like those people were not there for Duryodhan. All of them despised him probably. They were there because देश के लिए या भीष्म पितामह के लिए, for the same reasons कि it's a soldier's duty to fight for your
Right,
country.
right.
राजा दुष्ट भी हो तो क्या करेगा? That's what it is. So वो बोल रहा है कि मेरे लिए. Arrogance देखो उसका.
The incorrigible vanity of the dictatorial tyrant is amply clear when he arrogates to himself the stupendous honor that such a vast array of heroes had come ready to lay down their lives for
My sake.
my sake. To all careful students of the Mahabharata, it cannot be very difficult to estimate how many of these great veterans would have thrown in their lot with Duryodhan had it not been for the fact that Bhishma, the grandsire, was fighting
Yes.
in the ranks of the Kauravas.
अगर भीष्म पिता उसका साथ नहीं देते तो फिर ये सारे भाग जाते वहां से. That's what they're trying to say. अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकम्
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं
पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां
पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां
बलं भीमाभिरक्षितं.
बलं भीमाभिरक्षितं.
आपकी इस किताब में है?
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
everything.
Let me make it.
Oh yeah, it is. It's right here.
आपका पेज कौन सा है?
See, this is
मेरा
just
पेज
to
है
let you
92.
know, this is
92.
chapter 1 and 2
Yeah.
of Bhagavad Gita. हम लोग 1 पे हैं अभी. और we are
Yours and mine is exactly the same. So
92.
what page is that?
92.
Okay, I
Page
was looking
92.
at this book, so I thought this is different.
No,
No,
okay.
Different
So, yeah,
editions are there, so they keep
This one
modifying.
is a book which has everything together, and this one is chapter by chapter. तो ये 1 and 2 है, फिर 3 का अलग है, ऐसे ऐसे करके. और इसमें कोई चीजें नहीं है. It's like there are
This is
different
the
versions.
newest edition, I
Yeah.
think. These are
Yeah.
the newest editions. This is the very old one,
I
and that's
see,
even
I
older
see.
than that. But they're the same, by it's from Chinmayandas.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll do the Sanskrit part. Aparyaptam is, so there are again, you will see double meaning will come. Aparyaptam is insufficient, and the other meaning could be unlimited also. Tata is that. Asmakam, ours. Balam is army. Bhishma abhirakshitam, protected by Bhishma. Paryaptam is again two meaning, either sufficient or limited. Tu is while, idam is this, ete sham, there. Balam is again army. Bhim abhirakshitam, protected by Bhim. So, एक तरफ है भीष्म पितामह और एक तरफ है भीम. So basically, हर एक की अलग अलग भूमिका है, right? So Bhishma was as though the power of this, and Bhim was as though the power of the other army. And if everybody remembers Mahabharat war, Bhim is the one who killed actually the 100 Kauravas.
And Duryodhan too.
Everyone. Each and every Kaurava was killed by Bhim. So there are so many facets of, even though Arjun is very important, but actual killing was done by Bhim. अच्छा आप अनिल जी पढ़िए, आपके पास है ना?
This army of ours, defended by Bhishma, is insufficient, whereas that army of theirs, defended by Bhima, is sufficient.
So so that's one meaning, and the second meaning now.
Or this army of ours, protected by Bhishma, is unlimited, whereas that army of theirs, protected by Bhima, is limited. In the art of warfare, then known among the ancient Hindus, each army had, no doubt, a commander-in-chief, but it also had a powerful man of valor, courage, and intelligence who functions as the defender. In the Kaurava forces, Bhishma officiated as the defender, and in the Pandava forces, Bhima held the same office. To play upon the luxurious possibilities of the pregnant vocabulary is a special privilege of all Sanskrit poets. And here we have an example of the saying. The word Paryaptam has two meanings, sufficient and be measurable. Both these meanings can be read in this stanza, and each would illumine for us a different facet of Duryodhan's mental condition. One is the direct meaning that the army defended by Bhishma is unlimited, while that protected by Bhima is limited. This meaning is suggested by Anandagiri, the elucidator of Acharya Sankara's commentary. But Sridhara Swami gives the other meaning and makes the stanza state that although Bhishma is the protector of the Kaurava forces, Duryodhan is feeling that it is insufficient to win a victory, while the Pandava forces, although guarded by a comparatively insignificant warrior like Bhima, it is efficient in as much as the Pandava fighters are inspired by the aims of Dharma, for which they are fighting.
So here they are telling the psychology now, and one of the commentaries of one of the Chinmaya Mission saint, he was saying that how wars are not just physically fought but psychologically fought also. So there's a lot of, so if you, on their side, Bhishma Pitama, he was saying that how he was fighting from their side, but his heart was on Pandava's side. So it was split. He didn't have that. Whereas Bhim was 100% together with the Pandavas.
Yes.
He had no doubt, no nothing. So from that perspective, Duryodhan is not a fool. He knows that. So he was feeling that they are sufficient and we are insufficient. Even though the number was higher here and he had Narayani Sena and all of that. But when your loyalty is not with your own, that's a huge problem in war.
He could feel it.
Yes. That's what. So that's one way of interpreting this, yes.
Anyway, both the interpretations give us the two different facets of Duryodhan's mind. Perhaps in one way, he is feeling extremely confident because although his cause is poor and weak, Bhishma